Hey everyone! Welcome to the season finale of What If Season 1, the conclusion to all 10 episodes. We'll begin with episode 1, What If Sonny Grew Up in the Scorpion Den? After rescuing Cobra, Sonny and Keebley returned with her to Thorn, who was furious with them. Sonny stood up to her mother, though, demanding to be taken seriously as any other member of the Outlaws. Thorn relented after a while, but added that if she wanted to be a full member, she'd better obey her mother's orders in the future. Cobra, meanwhile, began to work a bit more closely with Thorn to show her gratitude for the save. Keebley had hoped that, being part of the reason his mother had been rescued, Cobra would begin to care about him a little bit more. However, to his disappointment, Cobra was impressed with Sonny's actions and held even more disdain, if possible, for his. Why hadn't he led the mission? Why did he wait for someone else's daughter to figure it out first? Hadn't she raised him better than that? So their plan backfired in some ways, but succeeded in others. Next, episode 2. What if Byrne was hit with venom instead of Scarlet? After the debacle at the Sandwing Palace, as the Dragonettes are both hiding and resting at Jade Mountain, they hear news of the Sandwing tribe's choice. Thorn has been crowned queen, despite the fact that the Eye of Onyx is still missing after Blaze fearfully stepped down. Blaze didn't want the throne, only the easy life that came with it, which was fine by Thorn. She wanted the power to help her shattered tribe. In the meantime, the Dragonettes are spending their time in and around Jade Mountain, trying to help Glory recover her memories. As time passes, they collect a few other dragons who wish to stay there, dragons who just want time away from the rest of the continent and its continued trouble. A year passes, and the Dragonettes begin to consider rejoining the world. Nobody really has much of a family to return to, though Sonny and Se1EXTRA considered it. In the end, they decide to settle impossibility, hiding their identities and hoping to live in blissful obscurity for as long as they can. Episode 3 was What If Glory Grew Up in the Rainforest? Unfortunately, rescuing the captured Rainwings wasn't enough to rouse the rest of their tribe from inaction. That, for Glory and a few others, was the last straw. How, with proof of their own danger, could the Rainwings refuse to take action? So, working together with a few other Rainwings, part of a small group who knew of and believed in the danger, their first move was to painstakingly spend one long night moving the boulder to the southern border of the rainforest, which ended in stark cliffs plummeting to the ocean below. Glory didn't know what the other side of the tunnel looked like after they dumped the boulder to the bottom of the ocean, but she knew that there wouldn't be any Nightwings coming out of it anytime soon. In the meantime, she worked with others like Orchid and Mangrove, who had grown unhappy with the state of their tribe, trying to rouse the Rainwings. Eventually they moved to the queens themselves, disgusted with their apathy. Glory challenged one of them for the throne in an almost unheard of action, and they chose a day to go through the competitions, which wouldn't matter so much once a certain fact about Glory's own heritage was discovered. Episode 4, What if Anemone and Turtle switched roles? Working with Se1EXTRA and the other Dragonettes of Destiny, Anemone explains everything she witnessed in the Kingdom of the Sea, and how their brother had gone mad. Se1EXTRA wants to rush in and stop him immediately, but Starflight and Glory counsel patience, because you can't beat an animus through sheer willpower. They eventually decide they need animus magic to beat an animus, so they decide to search for talismans. They continue their search as they explore the continent, and it takes them to the rainforest and the Nightwing Island, and eventually the Sandwing treasure. They do find talismans, but none that will help them sneak into the Sea Kingdom and stop Turtle. However, they find a mirror they can use to track his movements, and they find that he has buried himself in the deepest part of the palace, refusing to leave and attacking anyone unlucky enough to chance upon him. Sea-Wings are still fleeing the kingdom in droves, but the Dragonettes of Destiny decide that they may not need an animus artifact after all. Maybe they can let nature do the work for them. Se1EXTRA and Anemone travel back to the abandoned palace, along with Riptide and some cacti bombs that burn hot enough to work even underwater. Although they can't breathe fire, they bring down embers with them, trapped in airtight containers. There are pockets of air in the palace itself, and the three of them quietly use them to set their bombs. The Sea-Wing Palace is blown apart underwater, collapsing and trapping their rogue animus inside. Although news of his merciful death is brought to the remains of their tribe, who Anemone suddenly finds herself leading, it is still some time before anyone dares return there. Episode 5, What if Whiteout was an animus? After Fathom's arrival, things start to get easier for their family. He helps Whiteout learn not to use her powers, sharing his own grave story with her. Between him and Clearsight, they are able to impress upon Whiteout the importance of hiding her abilities and saving her soul while she still could. Her family all works to support her and help her keep her abilities in check, and over time, Whiteout makes real improvement. Thanks to this, a weight is lifted from the lives of her brother and friends, and Darkstalker is able to spend more time thinking about what he wants to do with his own life, rather than constantly fearing for his sisters. He and Clearsight get together, officially, and Fathom is able to make friends and find a kind of peace for himself, hidden away as a refugee in another kingdom. Next up, Episode 6. What if the skywing egg survived? Thorn uses the Eye of Onyx, brought to her by Flower, and discovers that she is Queen of the Sandwings. Byrne's soldiers, when they learn of this, revolt against her heavy-handed rule almost immediately, forcing Byrne to flee her own army and go into hiding. Word spreads fast, and Sandwings flock back to the desert to pledge themselves to Thorn. Blister's forces straight desert her, leaving Blister to slither away and scheme from the shadows. Blaze returns with her army, willing to give up the throne since she never really wanted it anyways. The Dragonettes, now reunited, decide to travel the continent in search of their families. Along the way, they deal with Marosier's revenge attempt, which ends horribly when his assassin instead decides to join their band and abandon his own tribe. They find Peril, who is hiding in the Mud Kingdom, where they meet Clay's biological siblings. They meet a Rainwing at the edge of the Mud Kingdom as well, who immediately attacks Deathbringer. After they're pulled apart and the other Dragonettes are forced to endure a 20-minute shouting match, everyone reroutes to the Rainwing Kingdom to help with the missing Dragonettes. From there, they head to the Sea Kingdom to look for Tsunami's mother, since Deathbringer informed her that she was likely of royal heritage. Lastly, with the Sky Kingdom seemingly in much better talons, with Scarlet in hiding somewhere, and her daughter Ruby in charge, the Dragonettes return, along with Peril, to search for Finch's family. Episode 7 was What if Thorn never saved Keebley? Thorn and her dragons do manage to oust Vulture, sending him packing to go set up his criminal empire elsewhere. But anyways, happy ending for Keebley. Thorn offers to let him and Heather stay with her since they lost their house, but Heather would rather have her own home and clinic like they used to, so Thorn gives them some of the treasure they seized from Vulture, and they use it to set up an awesome new medical clinic and keep living together like a happy little found family. Sometime later, though, Keebley gets the chance to make new friends when a certain group of Dragonettes stops off in the Scorpion Den, including a Nightwing Icewing couple who seem very friendly. They're looking for a doctor to help a young Rainwing who's been dangerously injured. Perhaps Keebley will make some new friends while he works to nurse her back to health? Next, Episode 8, What if Asha and Hivitor survived? And dated. The Dragonettes of Destiny stay with Asha, Hivitor, and Verglaw for a while, moving around on occasion. Once they're old enough to fulfill the prophecy, they begin trying to figure out how to do that, with the help of their guardians. By chance, the group finds itself at the Scorpion Den one day, where they meet Thorn and her outlaws. Having decided the three princesses are a lost cause, the Dragonettes decide to focus instead on installing a leader that would actually benefit both the tribe and the continent as a whole. But how to do that? If only they could find a certain royal talisman. Episode 9, What if Starflight could read minds and see the future? After escaping the Sky Kingdom, the Dragonettes decide to go to the rainforest to regroup and lick their wounds. While there, they run into a Nightwing, and Starflight accidentally discovers their intentions to take over the rainforest. One thing leads to another, and they eventually find out about the prophecy being fake as well. This is a relief to them, a weight off their back, and while Gloria is working on becoming queen, the rest of the Dragonettes are focusing on helping her and saving the Rainwing tribe. For now, the continent is left to sort itself out. And finally, last but not least, Episode 10, What if Stonemover never left Thorn? The Prophecy Dragonettes, taken in by Thorn and Stonemover, live a very different life in the den than the one in the caves. The Talons are in a panic looking for their lost Dragonettes, but the Dragonettes themselves are quite happy. Thorn and Stonemover get to meet their daughter, Sonny, and her adopted siblings. The 5 of them grow up in the den, experiencing the war for themselves, seeing the marks it leaves on dragons of all tribes. Thorn continues in her work to wrest control of the den from gangs, but now she has a family to back her up, though it's a little larger than she expected. The Prophecy Dragonettes grow up knowing the prophecy is fake, and that it's up to adult dragons to fix the war themselves. However, as they get older, the Dragonettes can't help but wonder, what if they could stop the war? And that will conclude the final episode of the first season of What If. Thanks so much to everyone who helped make it a success. I didn't expect it to go quite so well as it has, but y'all always exceed my expectations. What did you think of the stories? Which one was your favorite, and what might you like to see in the future? Feel free to leave your comments below. As always, thanks so much for watching and for supporting me, and please have a fabulous week.